Hey you, welcome back to the channel. And guys, today I want to talk a little bit more about Bitcoins. My last video regarding Bitcoins, I guess you could say I had my head up in the clouds a little bit. I was talking about the possibility of Bitcoins going $1 million per coin and above. And we talked about some practical reasons why it might be able to do that. But let's kind of get back to back here on Earth, on the ground a little bit, and talk a little bit about the history of Bitcoins and impending bubbles that seemingly hit Bitcoin from time to time. Now the good news is there seems to be a recovery, and Bitcoins has done that quite well, over the last decade almost now. And that kind of signals to me a bit that Bitcoins may be here to stay. But let's just talk about the dangers of the impending bubbles and maybe what we can do to protect ourselves in Bitcoins if that were to happen, probably what one should do, and how to go about it. So a lot of the tactics I'm going to talk about with Bitcoins is going to come from other economic models dealing with stocks and commodities and things like that. And I understand that Bitcoins is a different animal. It's hard to determine what's driving the price of Bitcoin at a particular time. We don't know what the future may bring with Bitcoin, what may happen regarding governments or regarding people and monetary policies and things like that. So very hard to predict the future. We can only kind of look at the history of Bitcoin, see some of the events that have taken place, and kind of drop a plan from that. So let's see if we can put together a practical plan, if we do get the impending bubble, which I believe we will get. I think we will go through a type of recovery, bubble. And I think that's going to be actually quite healthy for Bitcoin as it's trying to adjust to to finding its real price. And some examples I'm going to use for that. If we think in terms of companies, stocks and various things like that, you generally will have two ways of valuing what the price of a stock will be. One is generally going to be its book value, and then you're going to have the net asset value. So the book value is basically going to be what it is when you break it, what the current price of the stock is at the particular time. But the net asset value, that's going to be the actual value of the stock itself, or the underlying security or what have you. So we're going to try to use Bitcoins interchangeably, in this example, just to kind of get an idea maybe how we could look at Bitcoins and what might be a comfortable price for Bitcoins, and when we should buy and when we should stop buying, and various things like that. So let's just go with that example for a little bit here, just to kind of get an idea. So basically, with the book value, again, sometimes the underlying security may trade twice that price. So if we, an example like this, if we break down the value of Bitcoins right now, let's say Bitcoins is now at I guess it's about $40 billion in Bitcoins alone at this point, and the other $100 billion valuation, or maybe the other 60 billion or so, just kind of ballpark figures here, are going over to the other cryptocurrency pool, right? So we kind of got Bitcoin right now kind of settling, hovering around this $2,000, $2,400 price, and it's kind of holding there, and we're kind of at the $40 billion mark. Okay, so let's just take everything in account for that. Let's just say everything stays how it is, and let's try to evaluate now Bitcoins at a let's just come up with a reasonable number just for this example. Let's say that Bitcoin gets to a valuation, let's say another it doubles it. Let's say another $50-60 billion goes into Bitcoins, which I don't think it's being too unreasonable. And so if that happens and another 50-60 billion comes into Bitcoins, and you got a now $100 billion solely in Bitcoins itself, and Bitcoin's at about $2,400 right now. Let's say that valuation caused the price of Bitcoin to double. Now Bitcoin is trading around $5,000 per Bitcoin, and it's holding about $100 billion in it. Also, sometimes at the book value of Bitcoins, whatever the book value of an underlying security is, perhaps it'll trade maybe twice that amount. So maybe it was at $5,000, from $5,000 shooting up around getting close to $10,000 per Bitcoin. We're at $100 billion, or we're at $200 billion, or we're even at about $500 billion in Bitcoins. And I you know, the reason I think Bitcoins can probably comfortably hold a valuation like that is because you know, we got companies that operate in the United States that hold valuations like that and things like that, and the stock prices kind of hold, and so you know, definitely a far cry from trillions of dollars inside of Bitcoins, but we kind of get the point. And so just kind of basing things on that, I would say that you probably don't want to be buying Bitcoins over $10,000. That's just my, you know, how my brain's working and matching around, is that anything after $10,000, you know, I think you're going to see tremendous crashes with Bitcoins, and you know, probably bubbles that it won't recover from. And I just feel like about $500 billion or $250 billion is something realistically probably Bitcoins can hold. You know, if we think about our if we think about you know, where Bitcoin price is today, you know, that would still represent about a 5-time increase in its value. That's still pretty good. You know, in addition to that, it's quite possible that Bitcoins can continue to dip, you know, even down a lot more. And then as it goes on its recovery, as it dips down, that's an opportunity to be buying up Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoins is going to be really good to be buying. I would say anywhere from upwards to $5,000 to $10,000, you still can be buying on Bitcoins. Of course, now I would think it's the best time to start buying Bitcoins. Or if Bitcoins dips below the price it's at now, which I think is hovering around about $2,400, I have to check it, that'll be a great buying opportunity as well, because I really do think Bitcoins is going to be able to hold a valuation of anywhere from $250 billion to $500 billion quite easily. And that valuation, I think, is going to stay in Bitcoins for a while. And even if we have you know, other cryptocurrencies rise up, I really think that the other cryptocurrencies are going to be diluted out. You know, I don't think there's going to be a huge future in the other cryptocurrencies besides, you know, basically trading in and out of them when they dip, making a little bit of money on the way back up. But I don't think these are going to ever take off and really hold substantial valuations like Bitcoins is able to do at this point. So those are my thoughts on the impending bubble of Bitcoins. It is coming. I have no doubt that bubbles are going to increase, going to come as the price of Bitcoins increases. They're going to come quite frequently. There's going to be bubbles. There's probably going to be even some dramatic crashes. But I think Bitcoins will recover every time from that. At the point, I don't think Bitcoin. I think we're going to kind of come to this standstill. Is like I said, is when it gets around $10,000 per coin. So that gives us a lot of space and time to be getting in Bitcoins, making a fairly good return on your investment in Bitcoins, as well as taking advantages of trading in and out of Bitcoin. So that's my thoughts on Bitcoins and an impending bubble. Guys, if you like contents like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, guys, take care.